What is the best witty comeback you've ever witnessed?
Story 1. In high school, there was a jerk who was a local star athlete and was pretty much the high school cool athlete bully stereotype. His attempts to pick on people were pretty lame, but people always laughed at them because he was cool, and you always laugh at what the cool kid says. He liked to do the "an 80-year-old woman called, she wants her upper back strength back" type jokes. What? He also wanted to go to Cornell on a wrestling scholarship. Not only didn't he get the scholarship, he also didn't get accepted to Cornell. One day, when he was in the middle of one of his so-and-so called routines, I said, "Hey, Cornell called." "Oh wait, never mind." No, they didn't. Actually, I didn't think of that until the next day, and it's one of life's greatest regrets. The jerk store called. I mean, the best comebacks are unfortunately the ones that you will think of like an hour to a day later. But keep that tucked in your back pocket, because if that person ever starts doing a joke like that again, now you've got it prepped and can just whip it out like you thought it up at the top of your head, and boom, now you're the cool person. You're the king. You've got the wrestling scholarship. That's how it works. Story 2. My mom's dad had passed away a couple of days previously. The night before the funeral, a dark and stormy night, the funeral home called at 9 p.m. to tell my mom she had forgotten a tie for the suit for tomorrow's showing. She freaked out, realizing she would have to drive over to the nursing home to fetch a tie and then drive to the funeral home. Dad, who loved himself his clip-on ties and had many of them, said, "Oh, don't go doing that trip on a night like tonight and at this time of night. Just grab one of my clip-on ties and take it with you in the morning." My mom, who actually hated that my dad had never learned to tie a tie, responded without missing a beat, "My father wouldn't be caught dead wearing a clip-on tie." Seconds after she realized what she had said, she burst into tears. Savaged from beyond the grave. Ooh! I don't fully get the wolf howl in that comment, but yeah, I mean, I can see why she burst into tears, but I hope that she could get some enjoyment after that, because, around funerals and stuff like that, sometimes you need to be able to have a good laugh, as dour as they are, so I hope that's a memory that you can all share with a little bit of a macabre smirk.
Story 3. Back in 10th grade, we had a long-term substitute physics teacher, a younger guy, so the tough guy in class wanted to have a dong measuring contest with him like daily. They constantly made fun of him and joked about his wife. One day, I didn't hear the start of it, but one kid said something like, "I'd bury my face in your wife's boobs." Teacher had obviously had enough and said, "No, the only D's you're ever going to see are your grades." The class exploded. Nobody ever told on the teacher for saying that, and the guys stopped messing with him. Story 4. The class clown of my classmates, let's call him K, was known notoriously for peeing off teachers with crude, obscene, and insulting jokes. Well, one day K decides to ask a 30-something-year-old teacher, "Miss ever had a baby?" In which the teacher replied with a simple "no," but that's not where it ends. Kay then said to the teacher with a face that only appears on the stupidest of people, "Well, I could give you one," which caused a few snickers in class. The corners of the teacher's mouth curled into a smile, and with grace, she walked to her desk and said, "No, Kay, I don't want to adopt you," which caused the whole class to erupt into laughter, and Kay shut up for the rest of that year in English. This is still one of the best comebacks I've ever heard. So simple, yet so powerful. Oh, you might have been able to get away with that in math class, maybe in history, but that kid had no chance against someone who had a far better grasp of the English language. Story 5. I miss my late uncle. He was the wittiest mother effer I ever knew. Not a joke teller, just had great one-line comebacks that were never mean, just funny. My favorite was when he went out to eat dinner with my aunt, his wife, and my mom, just the three of them. The waitress said to them, "Lucky you get to eat with two ladies." My uncle replied, "Yes, but can you hurry it up? I have to get home to my wife." Story 6. Me and a buddy were at GameStop just browsing and hanging out. Employee comes up to us and asks if we need help finding anything. We told him we were just looking. This was right after the Nintendo DS XL just came out, and he started trying to sell us on it. Me, never having been a handheld gamer, told him I wasn't really interested. He decided his ace in the hole would be touting the newer, bigger 4-inch screen. Having enough, I responded, "Take it from me, 4 inches isn't that impressive." That was the end of his sales pitch. If you're a guy, this is a great self-roast. If you're a girl, this is just a great roast in general.
I mean, it's simple. It doesn't seem all that creative to take, someone mentioning 4 inches and turning into this, but I don't know. That delivery, I can hear it in my head. I love it. That's perfect. Simple, classic, well done.
Story 7. I had a supervisor who was making fun of a guy's last name. The guy took it and didn't really say anything. When he was done, the supervisor asked him to email something, and the guy wanted to clarify the spelling of the supervisor's last name, which was Windsor. He said, "Your name doesn't have a D in it, right?" The supervisor said no. So the guy said, "Okay, so just douchebag then," and walked away. Story 8. Jimmy Carr was at another comedian's show and he started laughing. If you've seen him, you'll know how distracting that would be. The guy on stage can't remember who it was, brutally savaged him with, "Jimmy, when I come to your shows, I don't laugh at your jokes." Story 9. I was 13 in dance class with some older catty girls. One of them was picking on me, which ended with her remarking, "Bite me." I responded with, "I'm trying to cut fat from my diet." Every dance team heard it and proceeded to chastise me for being so mean. Served her right, the cow. Story 10. Comedian. I remember the first time I had intercourse. Girl in the audience. Yesterday? Audience laughs. Comedian. I'm glad you remember. Audience screaming. Story 11. I remember some guy on here a couple of years ago in one of these types of threads talking about his encounter he had in a grocery store. He was behind this woman who was giving the cashier a bunch of crap over something. She was being a real chump. Finally, sick of her attitude, he tells her to listen up and stop holding up the line. He's getting kind of peed that she's double-barreling this kid who's done nothing wrong. So she whips around on him and says, "This is none of your dang business." And he responds, "Listen, lady, I'm a veterinarian. Bees are my business." I don't know if that story's true. Don't care. I thought it was amazing. Story 12. Guy in grade school was really into war history and building army models, fighter jets, aircraft carriers, etc. He was quiet and smart, but handsome and part of the main crowd, athletic, etc., but very much a history/war buff. At a party, for whatever reason, he was in a kind of argument beef with one of the hotter and more popular girls in class. The greatest comeback I've ever heard was as follows. Girl: "Whatever, Dan, why don't you go play with your model planes?" Guy, immediately, without missing a beat, "Great idea, I can land them on your flat chest." The reaction from the crowd added insult to injury as people went bonkers like it was a walk-off home run in a playoff baseball game. Never have I heard a better comeback, real or scripted, ever since. During middle school math class, one of the boys, overweight, was being made fun of by this petite girl. "You should put on a bra, you need it. You should take off your bra, you don't need it." The class went, "Oh!" And the guy got a few fist bumps. She cried. I don't like these ones where, yeah, someone makes fun of your physical appearance, but then responding with making fun of their physical appearance and stuff. Come on, folks, you can be more creative than that. I don't know. I feel like we're past that this day and age, but maybe it's just me. Because I look amazing. Who could possibly make fun of me and my thinning hair and all? Oh, God. Story 13. My grandfather died quite a bit before his time, and my grandmother would get a lot of calls for him. One telemarketing firm was particularly pushy, and one day an unbelievably condescending salesperson called and demanded to speak to the man of the household. My grandmother, who was normally restrained to a fault, replied, "Well, as soon as he comes back from the dead, I'll have him give you a call," and slammed the phone. They actually did stop calling after that. Story 14. A student told another that he wasn't the sharpest crayon in the box. He responded, "You're the sharpest because no one wants to work with you." Story 15. Before you read on, please know that my relationship with my 14-year-old son is built on giving each other a hard time. I said a bad word, don't remember which one or why. "You're a horrible mother. TF, I'm so horrible, how did you turn out so awesome? I spend a lot of time with Dad." Wrecked. Story 16. Shakespeare's plays are full of them. Ajax, "I shall cut out your tongue." Thersites, "'Tis no matter, I shall speak as much as thou afterwards." Hamlet, Oh, frick.
Yo, seriously, folks, get into Shakespeare. As a former English major dropout, I gotta tell you, Shakespeare had some zingers. Shakespeare was a clever and fairly crude mother effer. His plays were made for the people. They're great. Get into that stuff. You're gonna find some wonderful things. And if you don't think that you will, well then I bite my thumb at you, sir.
Story 17. Had a really witty teacher for my game design class. The vice principal hated him for whatever reason. One day we were all studiously working with our headphones on, programming away while our teacher was up front reading a book, very available and approachable if we had any questions. Then the VP walks in the room. VP: Mr. Teacher, it's come to my attention that you have absolutely no control over this class. This is unacceptable. Teacher gives him a fairly nonchalant stare, coolly and calmly places his book down, and claps his hands loudly 3 times, which was his very effective way of getting our attention while listening to music. Mind you, the following occurred without us knowing why the VP was there or what he had said. Teacher: Okay, class, listen up. I have an exercise for you. This will only take a few moments. First and foremost, everybody stands up. We all stood up in near unison very quickly. Teacher: Good. Now I want all of you to leave the room and stand outside in the hallway, and no matter what this guy says, as he points his finger at VP, do not come back in the room until I say so. Okay, go. We all exit the room, a little intrigued by what was going on. Teacher: Okay, VP, bring them back in the classroom. We didn't budge. To this day, this is one of my favorite stories to tell. Story 18. When I was in high school, this very large overweight kid who always picked on me waited till things got quiet in the classroom and said, "Whoa, Milkerson eats dongs." Everyone laughed, and I got embarrassed and nervous, and a few seconds later, after people finished laughing, I stuttered out, "Yeah, well, you eat everything." I don't know where that came from, but holy crap, the entire room lost it. Laugh my butt off. This sounds like the goofiest genuine comeback in this thread. Amazing. Story 19. Special ed student. You're so dumb you make me look like a genius. I was the instructional aide and had to stop the other kid from trying to fight him, but that burn was so sick it got a chuckle out of me. Self-deprecating humor is the best kind. Story 20. One of my prouder moments, I was 17 and a 12-year-old kid came up to me. Kid: Hey babe, can I have your number? Me: Why? Do you need a babysitter? Oh, I hope he was with a group of friends.
I mean, yeah, I think that this one's pretty funny. It's a 12-year-old kid being apparently acting like some sort of just barfly guy from the 80s. I think that response is perfect.
Story 21. Not exactly a comeback or insult, but once in biology class, we were going over DNA and genetics. We were talking about how traits can be inherited from parents to offspring flowers and how some could have all the same traits and some could have mixed traits. The packet we used called for the same trait flowers purebred and the other ones mixed. Then a girl in the class asked a question. Girl: Have we ever tried to make purebred humans? Teacher: Yeah, some Germans in the 30s and 40s tried. Girl: Really, what happened? Teacher: World War II. Followed by laughter from the rest of the class. Story 22. I remember reading the possibly apocryphal story of a student being told no excuse would be accepted for not taking a test that was the next day. Some student decided to be funny and said, "What about sheer intimate exhaustion?" To which the teacher quickly replied, "I guess you'll have to write it with your other hand then." Story 23. Churchill and some lady were having an argument. Lady: If you were my husband, sir, I would poison your coffee. Churchill: If you were my wife, I'd drink it. Can't forget the most famous Churchill comeback. I may be drunk, but tomorrow I'll be sober and you'll still be ugly. Story 24. Overheard 2 guys in the restroom while at the urinals. Guy 1 tries to embarrass Guy 2. Guy 1: What's with that red ring on your dong? You need to go get that checked out. Guy 2: It's just your mom's lipstick from when I saw her last night. Decent comeback, but the real burn is going to come from whatever STD that guy has. Story 25. One time I was at a coffee shop with my good friend and I saw a dime on the floor. Jokingly, I gave it to him and said, "There, you can buy yourself a life with this." It kinda sounded funnier in my language, and he quickly answered, "I'll just buy yours and give you back the change."
I've heard people say something along the lines of, like, giving someone, like, a quarter or whatever and being like, use this to buy yourself a life. I've never heard that comeback, though. If that's something that person came up with off the top of their head, they deserve a small crown or something because, damn.
Story 26. Grandpa. In my day, kids were seen and not heard. Grandson. So were the movies. The future is now, old man. Story 27. Drunken customer angry about not being treated like a queen at the grocery store. You don't frick with a 54-year-old woman. Seafood counter clerk. What's your daughter have to do with this? That's what experts in human conflict call escalation. Story 28. Sitting in a bar in a country well known for H, a guy walks in and starts yelling at a girl, B, you gave me VD. She looked at him and said, no, I didn't. You bought it. That guy got burned twice. Story 29. At a Chinese restaurant with my overweight friend. Waitress, would you like any wonton soup? Chubby buddy, look at me. I'll take 2 tons of it. Dude had quick wit. Story 30. Was talking to a friend about preferred intimate positions, and he said, I like being on the bottom because all I do is frick up anyways. Classic self-roast.
I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily fits in with the prompt of, like, comeback one-liners and stuff like that, but I gotta say it's a good one. So, gonna be keeping that one to use later because boy, do I know about frickin' up.
Story 31. Overly condescending boss looking over my work. Can I ask a stupid question? Me on my last week at that job. You seem qualified. Story 32. Overheard, first guy, braggart and a jerk. I've got this new job. I've got over 100 guys under me. Second guy, smart butt. What, you mowing lawns at a cemetery? Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.